for joining us on the Right of Way Report, a podcast by Pike-Off OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everything going?
Yeah, it's going. Busy week last week, and hopefully this week will slow down a little bit, but I say that every week, don't I? I say, oh, it's going to be better this week, and then it's not. How about you? What do you got going on this week?
This week? Just trying to catch up from being out of town for 3 weeks in July still. So I have some deadlines today, of course, because I waited till the last minute to do some things, but we'll get them done. And then I need to get some Substacks out. I literally have 3.5 Substacks ready to go almost, but I have to find some more receipts so people don't just have to believe me. They can have all the data they need and look at all of the documentation they need. And I think today we're going to talk to you about how agencies continue to break the open meetings law and continue to allow the $15 billion monkey in the room to win every single time. And so how we, the people, have to continue to use what's left of the legal system to try to get some justice. But, that was, I didn't go to the COBO meeting last week because I had a previous engagement. I was taking my kids to Okana. This is the first time we've been there, which was more fun, by the way, probably than sitting in the COBO meeting. But I kind of knew it was going to happen anyway because I had no responses. I asked, open record requested the application, didn't get it. I sent an objection, never got a response back. It's like we have these oversight committees that do nothing. But I had fun with my kids in Okana, so that was nice.
Yeah, that is good. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then
Kobo was a complete joke.
It was a complete joke. And then we'll talk about the OTA's board meeting tomorrow because they'll be gloating over the fact that they can they just make up the law. Like literally I'm transcribing actually YouTube is transcribing it for me, but I'm writing about how the literal law says if you're threatened litigation, you're under litigation, you must deny the bonds until it's over. And then the bond advisor gets on here and says something like, well, because she's quoting him from literally using his words. Because she wouldn't come up with the word modularity. You know who comes up with that word? Eric Lair. It's for real. So this is what happens. They don't quote our legal awesome briefs. They just quote the propaganda they wanna spew, and all the Chamber of Commerce members go, yes. Yep. I mean, it's insane. But
and what? Yeah.
But we still fight because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
you can't just roll over.
What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Kobo, or do you want to go to the board meeting, or what?
Let's go to the board meeting first. Because I already posted the link to it just a few minutes ago. Tomorrow is the OTA's August board meeting. Typically, their board meetings start at 10 a.m. Tomorrow starts at 9 a.m. for some random reason. And no, it wasn't a change. That's just the way it was posted from the beginning, as far as I can tell. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at ODOT headquarters, which is up in Oklahoma City, kind of catty corner to the Capitol. There are a lot of condemnations on this agenda. Most of them are for the Turner Turnpike, but there are 2 for the East-West Connector. It looks to me like the condemnations are growing by the day. Just since December 18th or something of 2025, so in the past 9 months, I guess you could say, they have filed 33 condemnations in Cleveland County alone. And that's huge. That's a significant number. Especially when the state auditors report, of course, they cut off looking at properties and condemnations in December of 2025, even though the report didn't come out until March or April. I guess it was March of 2026. But I think they said there were only 3 condemnations to date at that point. But that was the point at which they stopped their report, and then boom, that was completely misleading because there have been so many since then. And I can't help but wonder if they held off on the condemnations for that very reason. And, you know.
And so you said 33 properties along the east-west connector have gone into the condemnation process?
In Cleveland County.
In Cleveland County. So somewhere in that process. And we don't know whether they're just to clear the title or if they're because the homeowner just refused to negotiate with the commissioner's appraisal. Is that we don't really know why they went?
Yeah, I'm not sure on a lot of, or not on all of them, but I would guess that maybe less than 10 are title issues.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's good. Put up a fight, everybody out there. Remember, Kelly said last weekend that you don't take them to condemnation. When you won't negotiate with them, they file condemnation, and then you get to present your case. And remember, we said we have all that data, and I'll probably restack some of the information that Kelly put together about the kickapoo, what happens when you do get to go to court. It's almost always in the homeowner favor, for sure.
And to support that, you can look at the condemnations in Cleveland County and see that a good number of them are developers right there along I-35 and Indian Hills. Something else that was interesting that stood out to me in the payment register. Let's just take a look at that real fast, and let's just see. Hold on, let me see if I can come find it. I think it should be close to the bottom. I noticed a payment to the state of Oklahoma that I haven't seen before, Amy, and I'd be curious to see what your take is on this. Let's see.
I've got it pulled up, so you'll have to tell me what the.
Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share. Let's see. Oh, wait, not that. Sorry. Share screen. Yes, I know. Allow. We want to share this screen. Okay. Let me zoom in on it. Wait. So right down here, it says this is the vendor, State of Oklahoma, 2025A construction fund is coming out of, and 21.8 million.
Wait,
right.
I know what that is already, Kelly. That is payment for the Indian Hills properties, because that matches exactly what we open record requested on the amount. That is completely illegal and crazy, and I cannot believe someone hasn't called them out on that yet. So everyone's like, why is she going so crazy? Oh my gosh, Kelly, I can't even believe that they put it all in one number that matches exactly what they told us. So way back in 2021, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation started acquiring properties around Indian Hills, and Kelly's mapped all of this, and she's made great maps, and we put it out there several times. And they were paying way, way, way high numbers because they can use the Uniform Relocation Act from the federal government with federal money, state and federal money. Actually, they told us that they didn't use any federal money, right? They said they just used state money. But
Yes,
whatever.
that's correct.
Yeah, so we did a whole thing on it, and that was like 8 properties, I think. And at the time, I guess it didn't include maybe Heyday or something, because it was like 16 point something million dollars. And that's where the Timber Creek Church made a boatload of money, because one of their parishioners was the chairman of the Oklahoma Transportation Commission, who just disappeared after we called him out on conflict of interest problems. But anyway, it was never that was when Tim Gatz was the director of ODOT and OTA, and Tim Gatz was emergency authorizing money at the behest of Tim Gatz from OTA to purchase this land under the radar before they even announced the project, because they said they were going to redo the interchange at Indian Hills, but they never had any intent on following through as a state project. And so they blew like literally more than half of their budget on right-of-way, ODOT did. And OTA says, oh, well, we'll pay them back. And, you know, but you can't, that's not how this works. Like, you can't do that. And I hope someone gets seriously in trouble for that, but you know how that goes.
Yep. We know how that goes. Yeah. And yeah. So that's what I'm assuming that payment is for. I should probably do an open records request and verify that's what that is. But yeah, I mean, East-West Connector 28804, that is the project number for that segment of the roadway right there at Indian Hills and I-35. One thing also that I'd like to point out is that so Andy Alligators was an empty building. It had already been vacated, I believe, by the time the ODOT purchased it for, remember, $6 million, correct? Because it was going to foreclosure. And so they decided they would just go ahead and purchase this. I don't really even know why. ODOT purchased it back in 2021, 2021, summer of 2021, for $6 million. Empty building. Now, a lot of those properties that are over there in the same location at that same interchange have even newer buildings. Some of them are older buildings, some of them are newer buildings, but a couple of those are in condemnation right now. And so when the commissioners come out and they do their appraisal and they submit their amount to the court, then of course, we know that the OTA can then deposit that money with the court. And then that's the official date of the take for the Turnpike Authority, and they can actually have access to the property, blah, 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 blah. So if you go back over here to our handy dandy payment register, let me just throw this in real fast. Cleveland County, and I think it's going to be up here a little bit higher. So when they deposit it into the court, it goes to Cleveland County. So there's payments in here to Cleveland County Court, and those are the condemnation payments. And if you look at that, you can see that some of those payments are showing up for those properties. And guess what? They're nowhere near 6 million. They're like 1-2 million at the most. So why exactly did ODOT pay $6 million for Andy Alligators? Like what? Let's see if I can get there quickly without wasting too much of our time.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like what you said. There's one property on the East-West Connector that got paid $16.2 million, and Kelly went out and did a research on the what Bob Stoops' house is worth, and it was like, what, $8 million you said? There's literally no other house in central Oklahoma that is worth $16 million, and yet somehow these people got a boatload of money. So, it's all about who you know.
Yeah, so here we have to Cleveland County court clerk, for these two different parcels. I'm not sure exactly which ones these are. I haven't looked into it, but based on the number, you can see they're kind of in that same area. But looky there, 2.9 million, 9 million. 9,000. I'm not sure what that one's for. It says there's no telling. But anyway, it's not 6 mil. It's not 6 mil.
I'd be interested to know what the $2.9 million was paying for.
Yeah, I can find that out. I just need to go pull the case number, which is right here, by the way. This is the case number. And you can just, anybody who wants to know how to do this, you just come over here and you say OSCN, go to dockets, court records, and you can put the case number right there. search. I don't know why it's showing invalid. Hold on, let me go back and look at that for a second. TV 2026.
Maybe there's no dash
Wow.
or something.
Yeah, there's another way to do this. Hold on, let's do it this way. Not Ethics Commission. Why did that come up? We'll turn back authority, and then we'll do. Oh, actually, I already have them pulled up right here. What was the number again?
I didn't see it.
448. Okay. This one right here.
Looks like there's a bunch of LLCs on that.
So this is going to be on the west side of I-35. I can tell you that for sure, just based on the project number. But another complaint I have is with Cleveland County Court. What is up with this? The petition right here. This is the initial filing that should explain who these people are and what the Turnpike Authority's business is with them. But you can see this was filed back in February of 2026. So it's been several months. And Cleveland County Clerk has only one document posted available online, and it's the entry of appearance, which is not helpful, representing one of the landowners. So Cleveland County Court, you guys need to get your act together. This is ridiculous. The people need transparency. We need to know what's going on. I actually intend to email them later today and request records or documents that should be available online but aren't. So anyway, so that's about all I think I have for the agenda. I'll try to do some more looking into those and try to get the parcels parsed out and lined up and show you what the commissioner's award has been for some of those. But I just thought it was interesting that 2.9 is the highest I've seen so far. And yeah, so I'm not really sure why ODOT paid $6 million for an empty building, but
I know.
it could be that the previous owner of the building owed almost exactly $6 million, a little over $6 million to the bank, and the bank was putting in a foreclosure. So, maybe ODOT swoops in, purchases the building, and okay, all better.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Because that was what was owed. That's what was owed on the loan. So anyway, mind you, that loan included, I believe, I could be wrong about this. It's been a while since I've looked into it, but I'm pretty sure that the loans included improvements to the property. So rebuilding things, adding features, equipment, that kind of stuff, which ODOT didn't acquire any of that. They acquired the building. So anyway, okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah. So there's a lot there's a lot of really good information on the payment registries, and we have so much stuff to cover, but we've been finding some interesting things over the years, and we've gone back through these. Some people from Pikeoff have gone back through these for years and looked, and we've found, tech companies that are charging millions of dollars a year with missing invoices, and all of a sudden change the name of their company and start all over again. And there's just some seriously weird stuff going on in those payment registries. So you gotta, and they used to not be available to the public. Because of what we've done, now they've just put it all out there, because we were open record requesting this stuff all the time. I think it's just easier for them to put it all out. But, if you look really carefully, you can see some crazy stuff.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you don't mind, let me show people one more little thing. I don't know if this is showing up over here for you guys or not, but right here, if you go to the payment register, a lot of people have been asking, how do we know how much a property was settled for or sold for? This is how you can track it. It's a long process, but I will just show you in the payment register. Now, keep in mind that they run 2 months behind. So if you're looking at a property that sold, in April, you need to look at June payment register to find that property to see what it sold for. And so you go over here. For some reason now they're showing up under First American Title Insurance Company most of the time. You can look and see what the parcel number was, 28804A, parcel number 26, apparently sold for 2.1 million. So I'm not sure what property that was, but anyway, that's how you can track it down. Then you can go to the county clerk, not the court clerk, but the county clerk. You can look up the properties that were sold to the OTA. And when you look at the warranty deed at the top right corner, it will say what the project and parcel number was. So that's the process in which you can track down a payment for any particular property. If you know the name of the landowner that sold, you can also search the county clerk records under that landowner's name, and it will show the transfer of ownership there. And you can also access that warranty deed through those channels to find the parcel number and then link it up to the payment register. So that's how we know. That's how we can confirm exactly what a landowner was paid. So anyway, we'll move on because I know we have lots of other stuff. But
Kelly, is the county clerk the same as the county assessor, or is it different?
No. So here, let's look at this one more time then. So
just so people know.
The Cleveland County assessor site is going to look like this. And you would come in here and put in an address. I don't know. I can't think of an address off the top of my head to put in. But so when you go to the map, you're going to want to go over here to your layers panel and turn on parcels. And you might want to turn on the satellite view just because it looks better. You can click on owner names. Sometimes that's helpful, but it is pretty overwhelming. But you definitely want to turn on your roads. And then that way you can kind of see where you're at. And you can go, oh, okay, this is blah, blah, blah. We'll just click on this one. You also have to go over here. You want me to look up something?
Show them, just type in Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Okay. So you can also look up here. And now you can see everything that has been purchased by the Turnpike Authority.
You see there's lots of gaps in there, folks. Hold the line.
Mm-hmm.
Hold the line.
This is the saddest one of all.
Oh, who did that? Where is that? Go search there. Go look at
Well, that's South Extension.
Is that down south of Etowah?
Yeah, so this is Highway 9. I don't feel comfortable clicking on it. I don't know who the landowner is, but one thing I do want to reiterate is that we never know what anybody's personal situation is. And so I would hate to call someone out for something that was, maybe this was the best thing for them. They obviously were ready to do this or they wouldn't have done it. That's my personal opinion. I don't know who it is, so I don't know their situation. But
I don't either, but I actually don't share your opinion on that. I mean, the tactics that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority are using, especially on the elderly people, is disgusting. Mm-hmm. And there has to be something that we can do, because I've gotten now 3 letters from one family, and literally, Kelly, it says, back in April, it scares them. It says, if you don't do this now, you can get more money if you do this with us now than if you do later. And then they get another letter, and it says, we need to assess whether or not we're going to be taking your property. We need to be able to access your property. But it's not like the ones that they're getting on the East-West connector, which says that they're sending a land person out. It's like still in the early phases, and they're like literally coming at them saying, you need to do this now. If you don't do this now, like you said last week, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and they're totally making it up. And I feel like some people just mentally can't handle that bullying, and so I think we have a government. It's non-functioning, quite frankly, but there has to be some way
100%
of like helping them, because I don't know that anyone's really ready to take a lowball offer. And all of the originals that I saw, except for that 116.2 million one, were pretty low. Now some people were able to negotiate up, and good for them on the East-West connector. But I just feel like, man, some of those, and the only reason I wanted to know where it was, because they're going in parcels, like they're going in mile long And they're really focusing along the interchanges. They really want these interchanges. And so just contact us. I've been giving people language to use to get information back. And also, they're making people negotiate blind, or they're trying to make them blind. They're not even giving them maps and all that. So I'm just super ticked off on how they're treating the people. They have the state sovereign power of eminent domain and no guidelines and no guardrails and no accountability.
Yep.
But
Yeah. 100%. You're absolutely right. And it's beyond awful what they're pushing these people. I think part of the reason some of the people on the South Extension are getting those letters that are worded differently is because they have a different right-of-way agency that has been assigned to work with those landowners. And I have not been impressed with what I have seen. Their professionalism is extremely lacking. Their attention to detail is extremely poor. There are lots of errors and mistakes and typos in their letters, and it feels like they are intentionally misleading people by using confusing language, interchanging terms. So I don't know. It does kind of make me wonder if they're pushing really hard on the South Extension because they're worried that the Pike-Off lawsuit is going to slow down the East-West Connector. So they're shifting gears. Maybe it's because they're worried that the Council Bond Oversight was going to limit what they could do with the money that they're getting from this upcoming bond sale. Maybe they won't be able to use it for East-West Connector, so they're gearing up to use that money for the South Extension. So maybe we should move into Council Bond Oversight
let's talk
discussion,
about that.
because I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, so everybody, well, maybe not everyone knows, but so the Council for Bond Oversight is an entity that approves or doesn't approve, but I mean, they're a rubber stamping board for all types of bonds, general obligation bonds, revenue bonds. So school board goes to them, University of Oklahoma goes to them, Turnpike goes to them. And in order to sell the bonds in statute, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is required to go to the Council for Bond Oversight. It is suggested that they go to the Supreme Court, but they don't. It's not. It's an option. They don't have to go unless someone is bringing up like we did, a bond validation question that says you don't even have statutory authority. So then that's when they have to go to the Supreme Court to get that figured out. The Council for Bond Oversight is in Title 90 in our statutes, and in one of the sections, one of the requirements is that any agency cannot be under threatened or pending litigation. And if you're under threatened or pending litigation, you cannot be given permission to sell the bonds. So since January 23 of 2026, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has been under threatened litigation. Well, we submitted that notice of intent to sue based on the South Canadian River lack of permitting to build that 7,000-foot bridge. So we have several endangered species there. We have water quality issues. We have flooding. We have a moving, meandering stream that the ordinary high water mark moves all over the place. And unfortunately, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers gave them a national permit, which is like a rubber stamp to do whatever you want, instead of getting an individualized permit based on different things that they would have to mitigate as they were going through their construction. And so we submitted a objection for the June meeting, but the June meeting got canceled. And so last week they met, and we had one of our Pike-Off members go there and sit in the front row. Actually, there was a few Pike-Off members there, and videotape, because the press doesn't give us their B-roll and the Council for Bond Oversight doesn't provide recordings of their meetings. So if we wanted to know what was going on, we have to record everything. And that's why it's so important to have volunteers going to all these meetings to get what they say and have it on tape so that they can't say that they didn't They didn't say what they said. And so I listened to the whole meeting, and the state bond advisor did not care about our objection. And they knew, because we submitted an objection, they knew that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority was under litigation, and they even said that. They said, and I'm going to quote you because I just wrote it down, as council is aware, litigation has been filed in federal court challenging certain federal permitting decisions related to the East-West Connector. As of today, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority continues to hold permits for that project and is proceeding with construction under those permits. And then you can laugh at that because that's a joke. Okay? And then you need to watch the raw sewage video that we put up, what's happening around the South Canadian River too, from the City of Moore, OG&E, and the Turnpike Authority. So then the bond advisor goes on and she says, however, should a court issue an order prohibiting further construction on the East-West Connector or grant any requested injunctive relief as outlined in the motion, OTA will be forced to comply. Should a court dismiss certain requests for relief that allow for the issuance of bonds by the OTA while granting relief in other matters relating to the East-West Connector, the programmatic nature of the bond issue and of this application would simply result in expenditure of bond proceeds on other projects across the access program. This is the problem, and this is, I mean, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is smart. They have smart lawyers, and they're evil geniuses, okay? So they make a 15-year long-range plan, and they have these multiple projects, okay? 3 of them were highly contested in court. So we contested the Tri-City Connector, the East-West Connector, and the Southern Extension in court in 2023. The Supreme Court split decision, gave them permission, said they could do whatever they wanted. Doesn't matter what the legislature says, in a 6-3 decision. So they were given statutory approval to build these. But then they started adding projects in. Oh, I got this 15-year, they started adding the river, the bridge over the river, the Arkansas River in the vicinity of Bixby. Well, you can't, see this, the problem is, and no one's going to call them on that, they keep adding these projects into a big pot, and then the oversight committee, like the Council for Bond Oversight, who I will say, I honestly don't think they truly understand the trust agreement or statute. And the treasurer, which is another reason why I'm so glad Cindy Bird got in, the treasurer didn't stand up and say, we cannot give them approval. And the Attorney General's office, who is the lawyer for the Council of Bond Oversight, didn't do that. And then I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but she uses the words, OTA has represented that the expenditures of bond proceeds will be directed across the access program projects, and the modularity of the program allows for that to happen. See, so they set it up so that if one gets shut down, they can just turn around and do another one, but they're still adding projects, adding interchanges, adding all these things that weren't on the original list. And so that's statutorily, that's illegal. But because of what the Supreme Court ruled, it's almost like that they're untethered from the legislature. And then, so they were given permission to sell these bonds with conditions. And this is the second reason why I think that they broke the law. When our Pike-Off people were up there, and first of all, the first 2 rows of the room were reserved for the press and stakeholders, like the bankers, right, Kelly? Is that what it said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no public people that are being impacted by these bonds or having their homes taken were allowed to sit in the front row. But our people just did it anyway because that's how we are. So make us move. And then we asked for the packet that was given to the press. We asked for the conditions and all of the things that were in the application. And the treasurer, Todd Russ, and the bond advisor, excuse me, Alexander Edwards, told 2 different members of our team, no, I'm sorry, we can't give that to you now. You have to go home and open record request it through the proper channels. And they were like, dude, you just gave it to the press right over there, and you're not going to give it to us? So in terms of open meetings, we weren't given 24 hours to review anything. We were given an agenda. And so I think I don't know. I got to think about it a little more, but I'm fairly certain that's an open meetings violation. You have to make things public so the people have an honest chance of understanding what the heck is going on. But in the letters, so they have conditions. So I'll go down to the conditions. And the conditions were recommended conditions. So they're going after $1.9 billion in second senior revenue bonds and $1 billion in refunding second senior revenue bonds. So what that means is they want $1.9 billion in new bonds. So that's going to generate $1.5 billion in construction funds that they can use wherever they want. And then they want $1 billion in refunding, because remember, if we ever pay off a bond, then the road goes back to be free. And so they always get within 4 or 5 years of paying off a bond, and then they refund it. So they want $1 billion to go back and pay off their earliest bonds so they can keep the Ponzi scheme going. So it's $2.9 billion, okay? And then they have a whole lot of financial statements that say they can't do par. It's an interest rate. Refunded par is no less than 3%. But then let's talk about how it's conditioned for us. So you have number 11 up. Yeah, so one of them was receipt of a representation from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority that if bond proceeds cannot be used for the East-West Connector project, the authority reasonably expects to spend the proceeds of the Series 2026 bonds within 3 years on Access Oklahoma projects other than the East-West Connector project. Okay.
The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, basically one of their conditions is they basically just have to say, yeah, we promise we won't use it on that. We won't use it on East-West Connector stuff. We'll use it on other projects, but if we're told not to, then we won't.
Yeah, and then again, who holds them accountable?
Who's monitoring their bank account to make sure that they're not doing, you know what I mean? It's just comical. What a joke. Guys, citizens of Oklahoma, I want you to take note. This is how the state treasurer is overseeing state agency spending. Look at that right there. The agency basically just says, we promise. That's it. There you go.
Promise. Fingers crossed. We promise.
Is that maybe why he didn't get reelected? I mean,
I don't know. It's pretty gross.
What a joke. What a joke. Okay.
It is a joke.
I'll take that
down.
It
says, and then number 10, it says a receipt of a representation from the OTA that it will comply. So just their word, just their representation that they will comply with any preliminary, temporary, or final order issued by a federal judge in Pikeoff, OTA Inc. versus the OTA, in our case, federal case. Okay, because they've complied with everything else too. That's a joke. And then, what other one did I see that I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so to be honest, it sounds like legal speak. 5 and 6 have to do with our case as well. They have to disclose all pertinent and material litigation, both pending and resolved, in their preliminary official statement and final official statement, including but not limited to our lawsuit, as evidenced by receipt of the form of opinion from a special disclosure counsel prior to pricing, and receipt of the executed opinion prior to closing. Okay, so you want a letter? Like, it doesn't even say if you lose, and if Pikeoff wins, you can't build it. You can't use money for that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just a letter of an opinion from some guy who's a special disclosure counsel. And then, pursuant to certain provisions of the Oklahoma Bond Oversight and Reform Act, the Deputy Treasurer of Debt Management shall be included in pertinent rating agency meetings, which is totally cooked. And if you watch that, what was that movie you told me to watch? The Big Short.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, everyone needs to watch The Big Short, because you'll say rating agencies, oh, just pay me. No, you pay me $500,000. I'll give you a good rating. You pay me $1 million. It's a joke. And presentations shall be provided written copies to ensure full and complete disclosure on all relevant legal matters. So really, all these people want is a handshake. Yeah, we're going to do the right thing. Yes, we're complying. And there's like no way to check them. It is obscene, and we pay these people. We pay these people with their tax money. They're supposed to protect us, and all they can do is put conditions that require a letter from some random legal counsel that's probably on the payroll that says
It is. So they're hired, that legal counsel is hired by the OTA, and they've been involved in all of the bond offerings. So
yeah.
they have to issue opinions and whatnot for the preliminary official statement and the official statement, the final official statement. So yeah, they're getting paid tons of money. Some of our other volunteers track all that kind of stuff. I don't know much about the financial stuff, but it'd be interesting if we could get them on here to talk about how much these attorneys have been paid in these.
Yeah, I have a so every time they go after bonds, they have to do what's called a bond book. And the bond book is, I don't know, it's about 3.5 inches thick. And as a bondholder, you are allowed to get it. And so I open record request the bond book. So all the bond books are up on our Pike Off website. Every single one of them, all the way back to a long time ago. But they have a sheet in the beginning that shows you what everybody's been paid. And everybody is making money. Like literally, Bank of Oklahoma as the trustee bank is making a lot of money. And we got some stories about that too. We need to pull maybe Tassie in to talk about all the corruption and stuff on that, because we were just talking yesterday at the board meeting. You know, a lot of their what do you call it? The bond, the person that's the liaison between the Bank of Oklahoma and the OTA. I have it written down in my notebook, but it's on the floor over there. It's anyway, this position has changed over the year, and quite a few of them that have left don't live in the United States anymore. I'm not even joking. Like it's there's some crazy stuff going on when you have this many billions of dollars going on. So of course everybody wants their money, and all these people. I think I have a list from Cheryl. I was like 90,000, 110,000, 150,000, $1 million. So all the lawyers and bankers that are around these bond issues are getting paid exceptionally well for one transaction. So anyway, we are super disappointed that the Council for Bond Oversight can't think for themselves and be intellectually honest about the law and just put some oversight and say, okay, you can get this, but you have to have the outcome of the litigation you have to be successful in it. And that's what they did last time. They conditioned it. And because the law says that actually the regulation is unequivocal. It doesn't distinguish between material and immaterial litigation, nor does it limit the requirement to litigation challenging the validity of the bonds themselves. That's what they made up. So the first time we were challenging the validity of the bonds because we were going after statutory authority. We said they didn't have it. But the law, as written, right now, just says any litigation that has to do with the turnpike, or just has to do with the topic that they're trying to get bonds for. It doesn't have to be for the bond. And so then I went back and read the OTA lawyer's letter to the deputy treasurer for debt management. And he sent 3 letters. One was on, 2 were on July 10th. I don't have the one from June 2nd yet, because that was in the original application that they won't fulfill my open record request for. So that's nice. It's just one paragraph, and it says that the proposed issuance continues to proceed and will be completed in compliance with all applicable state and federal laws affecting environment, taxes, and other aspects of the Access Oklahoma program. Such compliance expressly includes compliance with any court orders respecting environmental construction permitting at issue in our lawsuit. And then they step it up in July 2022 and just give a background. And I'm not going to read you the whole thing. You can read it in the Substack, but they give a timeline and says, for consideration of the Council for Bond Oversight, the following timeline may assist to provide further context. January 23rd, Pykoff served the authority and all federal agencies with a notice of intent. Mid-February 2026, construction of the Canadian River Bridge project began. March 23rd, the date the Pykoff could have initiated litigation in federal court seeking relief. June 2nd, authority submitted its request for approval of proposed bond issuance. June 23rd, Pykoff filed litigation. 2 days before the council's previously scheduled June 25th meeting. June 24th, Pykoff submitted to the council a copy of the litigation. June 26th, the authority was served with a copy of Pykoff complaint. And July 14th, Pykoff filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction request for hearing and brief in support. And so he says it's the authority's position that all necessary consultations with the appropriate federal agencies have occurred and that all required environmental permits, approvals, and review process have been obtained and undertaken. The Pykoff litigation described does not contain allegations that the authority has violated any permits or approvals that have been issued relating to the East-West connector. Based on this, the authority will file a response and objection in opposition to Pykoff's motion, and the authority plans to continue its ongoing East-West connector construction activities. However, the authority will comply with any court order that may be issued in connection with environmental permitting, approval, and review requirements. And then he says, further, should the court enjoin further construction of the Toby Keith Expressway, which I hate, the East-West connector, until such a time as different or additional permits, approvals, or review processes are obtained or undertaken with the respective federal agencies, the authority will comply with such an order. If they order a stoppage, the authority will not expend construction proceeds, and it will not expend any available proceeds from prior bond issuances. Do you believe that? I don't believe that. So that's what they said. This guy gets paid big bucks. And so here we are, back at the Council of Bond Oversight doesn't help us. The Commission of Ethics doesn't help us. The Attorney General's office is not helping us. Maybe the new guy, if we can get somebody in that's really good. Who's going up for Attorney General? It's an independent, right? There's an independent and then another guy. Vote for the independent. I don't know who the other guy is.
I don't know who it is either, but I just saw something about them the other day and thought actually what I saw was pretty good, but I don't remember I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
so.
I saw a really good like a Facebook kind of commercial.
I probably sent it to you.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to vote for that guy. I don't remember what his name was, but I didn't like the 2 Republicans. But anyway, just vote. Maybe we can get somebody in that can do something about this, because this is just insane. And so, we're always thinking about how we can affect change, and affecting change, we have to keep bringing this to light. We have to keep documenting this. That's what the Substack's for. That's what the podcast is for. But at some point, we need to have some kind of buy-in by the people that can actually make them stop or make them follow the law. And so I think I said we were disappointed, but I knew it was cooked. Anyway.
We promise, Amy, we promise. Pinky promise swear.
We
We won't use
promise.
it. We promise we'll do what the federal court orders us to do, and we'll just tell everybody that there's a litigation. And so I guess my beef might not necessarily be with the Turnpike Authority. Obviously, they knew they were going to get what they wanted. My beef is actually with the Council of Bond Oversight. Why did you not do what you're supposed to do? What's the purpose? Why are you there?
And
I don't know.
If you look at like Kelly does really good, like CSI boards, we're connecting everybody. And if you really look at the connections between the Council of Bond Oversight, who they're connected with, the Chamber of Commerce, Governor Stitt's cabinet, friends of higher ranking officials. So they're all appointed members. So it's all connected. And I would say that, elected officials a lot of times don't really run the roost. It's people behind them pulling the strings. And we saw that with Kyle Hilbert as the Speaker of the House, 28 years old or whatever when he came in. And who has he got pulling his strings? Kel Kelly, 73-year-old ex-banker who was banned from banking, used to be on the OTA, run the OTA. He's over there pulling the strings behind the scenes, and Kyle Hilbert's just the face. So there's so much going on behind the scenes that we don't see. But at some point, I would hope that sunlight is a disinfectant, and we need a commissioner scandal. We need somebody to come down hard and just wipe out, a level of government and start to rebuild it again, so we can maybe make it 30 years. No, the 80s are 40 years ago now. So maybe we can go another 40 years without having a major catastrophe in government, but something's got to stop, because it's continues to be. I really encourage you to go watch this video and watch the chairman's and the lady sitting next to his right. Watch their eyes, and then watch Todd Russ's facial expressions, as you can't see the lady who's talking, her back is to you, but they're not listening, and it looks to me like they're nervous, but they don't want to make eye contact with anybody. And really, I don't know. I think it's sad that we have wasted government all over the place.
So you mentioned the conflict of interest, and so I just wanted to kind of point some of that out. I just think this is a little bit ironic. So City holds first of two public hearings on Arena Entertainment District, which is the TIF in Norman. And Kathy O'Connor, founder of development consultant Co-Align Group, is the one who presented the plans for the TIF. She's the one who gave the presentation to City Council. And if you go to the Council of Bond Oversight, click there, and let's just check out who are the members of the Council of Bond Oversight.
Yep.
Tell me it's not connected. I don't know. It just feels a little bit weird. She obviously, well, I don't know if she does or not, but it just seems a little bit interesting to me that she is super in favor of the Turnpike and represented the TIF project that has received so much pushback from the city of Norman. So anyway, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and we have there's lots of other stuff going on too. So in the council, the local council, the council members retreat for Norman, there was talk about de-annexing Ward 5. Scott Dixon wanted to talk about that, and really, just so you know, it was brought up yesterday at the board meeting. I hadn't heard about it. If you go to Trey Kirby's, he's a Ward 5 council person, and listen to what he has to say. the developers really want Ward 5 to de-annex because they're out of room, they say, to develop. So they don't want the regulations. They want data centers in there. They want no regulations. So the de-annexation is not a good idea in my book, because you want some kind of protection of the watershed, which is why Ward 5 is in the city of Norman. But just pay attention to that, because it's coming from the locals. Pay attention to the county commissioners, because, again, they don't own Indian Hills, and yet the OTA wants to touch Indian Hills. So we need to pay attention to the county commissioners. We need to pay attention to the council, and show up to those meetings if you can. The council meetings are Tuesday nights at 6:30, and the commissioner meetings, I think, are once a month on the first Monday of the month, I think. But we'll post about that. Yeah, see Ward 5, and they want that to be its own thing. So, like, my question was, well, how do you have money, and then how do you have to set up your own town, you have to set up other thing, I don't even know. And then it's like a free-for-all, literally a free-for-all. There's no permitting, there's no anything until you get regulations. And who wants to set up another government entity? We do not need more government. So just like,
This is incredibly concerning for lots of reasons. I have not looked into this specifically in a really long time, so this is not going to be 100% correct, but it seems like I remember reading something somewhere that said that an area can annex themselves if a certain percentage of the landowners in said area vote to do so. And I just want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that the East-West Connector, oddly enough, dips down. You'll remember over here at I-35, it kind of about here-ish, I think, it dips down into Norman, south of Indian Hills. And look where it runs all along. It manages to stay in Norman. We've kind of wondered why. So why is this important? And then it kind of comes back up here and connects to I-240 or I-40 up here. Why is that important? Well, when all of this turns up as surplus property, who's going to buy it? Well, we know from historical records that from the Kickapoo, developers are the ones who show up to those auctions and buy it. Okay. So now when we've got all of these properties right here in Ward 5 that are purchased by the developers who you just said are pushing this, whoa.
yeah. And
We better
so,
wake up.
I know. And so how it was explained to me was that you see down at the bottom, right along Classen, so there's the new Walmart, and there's going to be a Target and a Lowe's and all that stuff. And they say that, well, they're pushing, oh, well, you know, all that tax revenue is going to help to support Ward 5 as they de-annex. And so, but think about it, then you need police, so you're covered just by the sheriff. The Cleveland County Sheriff just covers you. You have no Norman PD, you have no Norman Fire Department, you have no, you know, city things. And so you have to come up with your own. It's going to be the wild, wild west. So I'm just telling everybody that that's coming up, because I had no idea. I have to go to Trey's page and read about that. We need to protect our rural way of living, and the best way to do that is to stay where we have regulations. We have a moratorium on data centers. People, we do not want a data center where we have well water. A data center will drain our Garber-Wellington aquifer. It is not what we want. We have to stay with the city. And so that's the thing. And then, so we got things coming from everywhere, and the Cleveland County commissioners are cooking something up along Indian Hills. We need to pay attention to that. And for all the turnpike people, bring it back to the turnpike. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority wants interchanges. Listen, this is insane. They want interchanges on Route 9, which is, they can do that because it's a state highway. We can't really do anything. Then they want a mile north, Lindsay. Then they want Alameda. They're going to skip Robinson. Then they want Rock Creek. Then they're going to skip, and then they want Indian Hills. We have to push back. We don't want interchanges, and on-off ramps are the most disruptive for the people left having to live by the turnpikes. No, we don't. They have 32 miles of no exits or on and offs on the Turner. They have 50-something miles on the Indian Nation. You don't friggin' need an interchange in the city of Norman every 1 mile. But you know who wants that, Kelly? Developers, because when you have an interchange, you can put service roads. Guess what's really bad for East Norman? We don't want service roads along that north-south connector. We're in the Dave Blue, we're in the watershed, but we're in the Dave Blue. We cross that, the easements. You're getting into there's all that pollution that's going to get in there, and plus we don't want high density development, and that's what they want to do with those interchanges. You have to keep those interchanges out so the developers can't bust the zoning laws. So pay attention, because in the next 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to come up that the city is going to have to vote on if they want interchanges. And here's the thing, it's bootstrapping the citizens of Norman into maintenance costs that we cannot afford. It's going to increase our property taxes even more so than it does now. I think I'm 6 times the property tax that I was 22 years ago, which is insane to me. And we don't want anything to be able to help the developers be able to go to the city of Norman and say, hey, we already have this really disruptive 6-lane turnpike, and then you got service roads all the way down here. You should let us take this 10-acre plot and split it up into strip mall commercial stuff. Oh, and let's put a data center here. Oh, or like, you know, whatever. But no interchanges.
So a couple of things come to mind here. And one is, I want everybody to understand that we do not need on-offs. We do not need access points for people to cross the turnpike. By law, the Turnpike Authority is required to maintain Tecumseh Road. It's not going to be cut off. I mean, you're going to be able to go underneath or over the turnpike. You're not to get around, just like you always have. If there's a road that it bisects, they have to keep that road open. They have to rebuild it in the same condition or better condition than what was there before their turnpike came in and messed it up. So I don't want anybody to think, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to do that. And number 2, they are not going to landlock anybody. They can't. They're not allowed to. They're either going to buy that person out or they're going to make a way. And sometimes making a way means taking part of the property from your neighbor. I don't think that will happen very often. Obviously, it could. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't use that strategy just to get people to say, no, we don't want this. We'd rather have an on-off. But I want you to also think that, look at this. When we do these on-offs, it requires taking more private property. So the more on-offs we have, the more homes are lost. And what exactly was it that the Cleveland County Commissioner said the reason they wanted those frontage roads was, 1, so that people wouldn't be landlocked, which we know is not true. And number 2, they said somehow it was going to take fewer homes. I don't think so. I think you're taking a larger footprint. Obviously, with these on-offs, the city of Norman was also the ones that said that was part of the reason they partnered with the OTA for the 36th Avenue project with the east-west connector over on like just west of I-35 and Indian Hills. But they said the reason we're going to do that is because it will result in the fewer homes being taken. Okay, well, City of Norman, here's your chance. You say no to the on-offs because that's going to result in more homes being taken. So you need to follow the precedent that you said. And I said this back then too when they agreed to that. I said, okay, City of Norman, you said it. You're going to do whatever it takes, even if it means partnering with the devil to save a home. Even if it's just one home, you're going to do it. It's worth it. Well, now you have the opportunity to save how many homes by not approving these access on-off points. So
yeah, and this comment says there's physically no way an interchange at Alameda can safely not encroach on access and restricted clearance of Washington Elementary, not to mention the additional homes they would have to take. Lindsay has a Bureau of Land Management property there that supposedly can't be touched. Well, there's a BLM property up at Indian Hills, and that didn't stop it. So I don't know, but I hope that's right. I hope that's right, because, but even from a transportation standpoint, like the only reason that you need an on and off from a turnpike in that high of a density is to bust the zoning out and make it an urban turnpike.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yep.
really want people to get someplace faster, then you limit the access points, which is what they say all the time about Route 9. Well, it's not fast enough because there's so many access points. Okay, then stop. Then you can't have an 85-mile-an-hour turnpike with an interchange every mile.
And what else do we know about all those additional access points create a safety problem?
Right,
That's
safety.
exactly why Highway 9 is so dangerous, because every time you have cars merging, you have collisions. And so why would we want to, they say this is for safety concerns. This is going to make it safer for the traveling public to get from point A to point B. Well, okay. Well, if we're really talking about safety, then we need fewer access points, because anytime traffic merges, you've got problems. Look at I-35. Every single point at which traffic slows down is a result of an interchange or an on-off that was poorly designed. So there you have it. And this is just a perfect example of why more homes will be lost if we add these access points. Look right there. Just this road right here. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but we're taking these two houses and this home right here. But if we do the on-off, we have now extended it to this house and probably this house. Mm-hmm. Just for one. And there's, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them I think they have that they would love to, throw out there. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, at least 4. Seems like there's a couple down here that just might not be showing up.
And again, it's not
for some reason
that,
6.
Though. It's by federal law. They don't have to follow federal law, but they will in this case, because somebody's brother has a lighting contract. They have to put lighting on every interchange for a certain amount, plus or minus. When you get on, you get off, and that's gonna wreck East Norman's dark. Like it's so dark out here, you can see the stars. It's gonna wreck it if they have lights every mile, and it's not just every mile. It's like I have to look it up on the MUTCD uniform, the law, and I think it's like a half a mile before and after an interchange. You have to have lighting. Now on the Turner, I don't know if anyone's driven up there. On the new part, they literally put a light every 100 feet for 22 miles out in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea what's going on except that somebody's brother has a lighting contract, because it's crazy. But we don't want interchanges for that reason too. The sound of deceleration and acceleration, the lighting, it's going to take more people's homes. It's going to increase the chances of us getting developed out here. And the developers telling us that we need more places for people to live, I push back on that. I'm from a very small town in Pennsylvania, and the town by its geography was limited to how many houses you can build, and people did just fine. You can live in the next town. You don't have to live here. So it's fine.
I was trying to find in the statutes. Exactly. Yeah.
And there's another comment was AIM 2045 master plan is literally all of that zone is a PUD. And that's what's P stand for? I know it's urban development, but is that like
planned
urban development?
Planned unit development, I think. I don't know. Planned urban I think it's planned unit development.
Okay.
I need to brush up on my definitions and acronyms. That's somebody else's area.
But anyway, so we need everybody to pay attention. I know the Kobo thing was disappointing. We're sorry. We tried our best to object and to get that litigation in on time, but also to object on a lot of the trust agreement violations. So we're going to keep going. We're going to bring that to the federal level, to the SEC, and keep trying to hammer that. And I want to bring up the fact that Bernie Madoff, when they filed with the SEC, it took the SEC 7 years to take Bernie Madoff down. So be patient. Maybe it'll happen. I don't even know if they'll read what we submit, but we can try. So
what was Stan Ward's quote? The quote of Stan Ward about Bernie Madoff. He said, "The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority makes Bernie Madoff look like child's play."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So it might take even longer for them to get to the bottom of what's going on here. You were talking a minute ago about all the additional light pollution and all of that that comes along, with those interchanges. And it just made me think of last week after the podcast, you and I chatted for a few minutes, and we were talking about how the Turnpike Authority does not, they're not going to incorporate sound mitigation for some of those landowners over there on the East-West Connector because it wasn't going to be feasible for the Turnpike Authority because it was going to impact too few people, even though their studies showed that it exceeded the threshold of acceptable limits. So we kind of joked around about maybe trying to do the podcast live from basically where these houses are, over where they're doing construction. I think we should really do that. I think we should show people exactly what it's going to be like to live next to this construction site on a daily basis for years. I mean, I would imagine the segment that's right there next to any one person's house will be under construction for a minimum of a year because it's a huge project. So lots of dust blowing, dozens of big machinery moving past people, and we have people that are their home is going to be 40 feet from
Very close.
this construction site. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. It's going to be about maybe 200 or 300 feet, I think, if I remember correctly. That's where their construction site will be in relation to my house, if they don't take my house at all. We really don't know what's going to happen there. But so who wants to live next to that for a year? And yet, if we're not bought out or damaged, then we have no compensation, but we're stuck living next to that for 1-2 years. So anyway, I think we should still do it. So let us know if you guys want to see us.
I think we should do that. And also, we'd love for your videos. If you're out and about and you're by a high speed somewhere, by a high speed high speed highway, and it's loud, take some video so we can have a decibel meter. So I have this app on my phone that I can turn it and it shows up in my camera, so I can take a picture. And I have a picture from Friday up near Oklahoma City, near Ocana, and I took it at 8:30 in the morning, and I was about 500 feet from the I think it was I-40, right on the river. The decibel levels were 82. The average decibel level is 82 decibels. And I was 500 feet away from that road. I couldn't even hear. Like, kept telling my kids, what? I can't hear what you're saying. And so it's just so, it's tiring, to be honest. It was so nice for me to just not be there with that much sound. But we'd love to collect your videos of that. To show, because we're going to have to fight for, if they end up building it, we're going to have to fight for sound barriers and things like that. And also, there apparently are still people that don't know that Pike Off OTA exists. So if you're listening and you have neighbors, please do tell them about us and that what we can do to help, and that what we stand for and what we're trying to do. And we're going to go on a mailbox campaign this fall. So if you'd like to help us put out some flyers to different, you can take a half a mile section or a quarter mile section. You can hand them out to 10 people. You can hand them out to 100 people. We just need some help this fall, right before we get into some of our events, to tell them who we are and what we do, and that we're here for the community, and to help with this, to help try to keep Ward 5 and East Norman and North Norman rural. And it's not just, honestly, the turnpike. The turnpike is going to let in all these developers, data centers, and other things that will try to come in once there's a high speed way in. So,
yeah, remember that email from the Norman City staff talking about how they can absolutely see a big industrial complex at
right.
the interchange of the East-West Connector and the South Extension, which is right there in the watershed. It's literally where Little River is. It's upstream of Little River. Like, all of it, the whole thing is just crazy.
Yeah, they put that on they put that on that AIM Norman, a draft of that AIM Norman plan, and we had those. We open record requested those emails, and I think I posted that in the Substack and showed it, and whew, I mean, we just don't want
there's
that.
a lot of good stuff in there. Real fast before we go, I just wanted to put a call out to landowners who have completed the process, especially if you are someone who was on the Kickapoo, whether you were just you were taken out, whether it was a partial take, a full take, or whether you were one of those landowners who is stuck next to it and has had problems. I would love to have some of those people on the podcast to talk about their experience. What was it like working with them? What's it like living next to it now? All the things. We'd love to hear your testimony. I'd like to have multiple people come on, and I think it would be fantastic to have 2 or 3 different people come at the same time so that we can just kind of hear them talk amongst themselves and ask everybody questions. And so anyway, share your story. We want to hear it. Email me, email Amy, email the Pykoff admin, and let's get you guys on. I noticed somebody posted on the No More Turnpikes Facebook group. It seems like I saw something a few days ago where she was like, hey, look, or maybe it was a guy, I can't remember, saying, look, this is what it's like, yada, yada, yada. It's not that great. These are the things people don't think about, but that have been a problem. And so that's the kind of stuff that we need to draw attention to. And, so anyway, and it would be great to ask them, how can Pykoff support these people even more than we already are? Maybe there are some things that we could be doing that we're not. Obviously, we can't provide legal advice and those kinds of things. And keep in mind, we're just a volunteer group. But, is there something we're missing? Is there some aspect of what's being done to you personally that, you think that other people need to know about and be aware of? That's what this podcast is for. It's for transparency. It's to make people aware of what's going on. We don't want to keep that stuff in the dark. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. So let's get it going.
Yeah, for sure. And if there's any topics you'd like to talk about, let us know. We're going to reach out to someone to talk about the Oklahoma Ethics Commission, because I'm pretty disgusted with them too. And so we have a lot of so-called watchdog agencies in our state that are supposedly supposed to help us, like Loft and the Ethics Commission and COBO and so we just want to talk about those and totally understand how they work, and so that if there's something that the citizens can do to affect what they do or how they function, that we can point people in the right direction, because I feel like all the things we've been doing for the past 4.5 years kind of just get put into a black hole, and we don't really get the feedback or the outcome that we want. And so if you have any good topics for us, let us know, and we'll try to get that person on.
And please, everybody needs to be paying attention to what's going on in the city of Norman. We need everybody to be on the ready to be watching for it. We'll try to send out emails or posts on our Facebook page if we need all hands on deck at a Norman City Council meeting or a Cleveland County Commissioner meeting. These things come up super fast. They don't have to put the agendas out for 24 hours. The minimum is 24 hours. And a lot of times that's exactly what we're seeing. It's like 24 hours on the dot. So we have very little time to mobilize people and get them there and support. So please keep an eye out. Sign up for Amy's Substack so you can get notifications, because I know she's real good about doing that as well. So we can get people there, because the city of Norman needs to know, no, we don't want this annex thing. No, we don't want the on-offs. No, we don't want the frontage roads. We want you to pay attention to what we're telling you. That's what we want.
Yep,
so,
agreed.
I think that's all I have, unless you have anything else, Amy. Maybe we should.
No.
We're at 11:25. Wow, look at that.
I know, it went fast. No, I think everyone should have a great week. Stay in touch with us. Spread the word, please. And if you have any ideas of how we can do that most effectively, let us know, and help us spread by sharing what we put on Facebook, by sharing what we put on Instagram and all the socials. But also, if you have a neighbor that doesn't do that, just go talk to them and let them know what's going on. And so with that, I think we'll have a fantastic week, and we will see you next Monday.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
thank you for joining us on the Right-of-Way Report, a podcast by Pike-Off OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.